Anyone who might think that Rachel Reeves is somehow or other improving or showing that she has some substance for example, the Mansion House speech last night, is in for a rude awakening with the inflation figures this morning. They've dealt an unwelcome blow to her credibility as Chancellor, and she might just as well go back to blubbing on the front bench. Inflation unexpectedly rose to 3.6% in June, its highest level in over a year. So everything she is saying is wrong. And this development is not merely a statistical noise. It represents a fundamental test of Reeves' approach to economic management, and she fails. And it exposes the shortcomings in her Mansion House strategy to boost growth while controlling prices. Inflation had been falling, reaching 2.6% in March, but since then it's steadily crept up to 3.4% in May and now 3.6% in June. And the Office for National Statistics identifies the main drivers. Food prices up 4.5%, their highest annual rate since early 2024, with big rises in beef, butter, chocolate and coffee. Fuel prices fell less than last year, adding to overall price pressure. Services inflation, a better gauge of domestic cost pressure, held stubbornly at 4.7%. It's crucial to note that this spike was not widely forecast. Economists expected inflation to stabilise. The surprise will complicate the Bank of England's planned rate cuts. In other words, Rachel Reeves isn't alone in being stupid. She's surrounded by a whole cast of nitwits. Only last night at the Mansion House speech, Reeves set out a self-assured vision: red tape cuts for business, mortgage market reforms, incentives for investment. She presented these as levers to drive growth without stoking inflation. Yet today's data suggests her assumptions are flawed. By emphasizing growth-friendly reforms while relying on minimum wage increases and limited cost of living measures, she has failed to address persistent structural inflation. The Chancellor highlighted policies such as raising the minimum wage, free breakfast clubs, bus fare caps. But these measures, while welcome for many, inject demand-side pressure into an economy already suffering from supply-side bottlenecks in food production, energy and labour markets. Her error lies in misreading the inflation environment. She has treated inflation as if it were solely a monetary problem, best left to the Bank of England, while pursuing a fiscal strategy that is expansionary in the short term. Consider these specific missteps: ignoring the effect of higher employment taxes, the national insurance on service costs, overlooking how minimum wage hikes feed into wage price spirals in labour-intensive sectors, failing to offer meaningful supply-side reforms to food production and energy resilience. And her budget measures have been criticised for driving up business costs on the high street. As Chris Hammer of the British Retail Consortium notes, business rates reforms risk pushing prices even higher. Predictably, the Conservatives will seize on these figures. The Shadow Chancellor Mel Stride has already accused Labour of taxing jobs and ramping up borrowing while refusing to make tough choices. And while such partisan attacks often contain exaggeration, there is a kernel of truth here. And Kemi Badenoch, if she actually had the brains to do it, would have a field day today in PMQs. I don't suppose she will somehow. Labour has promised growth, but risks delivering only inflation and higher debt. Reeves' Mansion House pitch was designed to reassure markets. Instead, today's data will raise borrowing costs, spook business confidence, and threaten her credibility. What happens next? The Bank of England faces a dilemma. Markets had priced in an 85% chance of a rate cut in August. That prospect is now finely balanced. If rates stay higher for longer, mortgage costs will remain elevated, housing market activity will stall, business investment will slow, and with food inflation expected to rise further into autumn as global trade tensions and poor harvests continue to bite, the squeeze on households will intensify. Rachel Reeves will need to revise her approach without addressing underlying supply-side constraints. From food production to energy costs, she cannot claim to have inflation under control. Today's inflation spike is not a blip, it's a warning. And Rachel Reeves cannot rely on slogans about putting money in people's pockets while ignoring the drivers of price rises. If she doesn't adapt, if she doesn't look reality in the eye, she risks repeating the oldest error in politics, underestimating the power of an inflation to derail both economic plans and public trust. She needs to go home, do her homework, and start serving the nation in a proper spirit with honesty, integrity, and some serious thinking.